And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Thursday, October 30th. I am Josh Engleman, and I am here to break down just 4 basketball games today. We've got Orlando, 3.5-point favorites in Charlotte. We've got Golden State, 2.5-point favorites in Milwaukee. We've got the Wizards getting 2+ touchdowns against OKC. And we've got the Miami Heat 5.5-point dogs in San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama season. Got a lot to do today. Lots to break down. Lots to dig into. We're going to build some lineups. We're going to have some fun. How'd it go for you guys yesterday? It was one of those days, huh? AD, not ideal. That probably didn't go the way people wanted. Can't believe the Kings lost to the Bulls yesterday. Why can't you believe that? That's not all that surprising. I think it's fascinating that both teams didn't lose that game, because that would have made more sense. Would have been better if I had Minot. Stokastic Sims loved Minot, that's for sure. No doubt about that one. I mean, obviously, Jokic was really good. It was mostly unnecessary. It's a weird day. Yeah, I'm worried about Trae Young, man. That looked bad, which sucks so much. Because that's the one dude that they can't replace. They don't have it. At least I don't. Unless Jalen Johnson is about to make a crazy leap, and I don't think that's possible. That one sucked. I hope that we just find out that Trae's fine. Yeah, I mean, for the ACL, they'll know that one pretty quick. I just, if this is... Yeah, like, you're obviously just hoping that he can avoid surgery. And it's just like a hyperextension. Give him 2 weeks, call it a day. But yeah, it was interesting day. Jazz game was big time scoring. What was the final there? Like 134, 130 something. High, very high. We got 4 for today. So 7 o'clock lock. Obviously, today is a little bit different. Thursday night football is going on for today. So everything that we do is a little different. NFL strategy show coming up after this will be for the NFL game for tonight. Laffy and I all have the NFL perfect lineup out later. No deeper dive today, so this will just be live before lock. It'll be myself and I'm guessing Eric, but legitimately I don't know right now. We'll go from 6 to 7, and then NFL live before lock will take over from there. Einsteinium. You're going to get that. It hasn't started yet, though. That's later on today. That's more of a live before lock thing. All right. You guys want to talk about the slate? I don't have too much else. You know what? Let's do one thing. Actually, I have nothing else to add. Austin Reeves, confirmed fun to watch. So from an ownership perspective, for the slate as a whole, Anthony Black is your highest owned player today at 4,300, point guard, shooting guard eligible. I think that makes a ton of sense. Should play a lot here with the expectation that there is no Jalen Suggs. So we've got Anthony Black in for 30 minutes. It's 4,300. Yeah, Einsteinium, that got exciting. I wasn't paying attention to the end of the game. And then I forget what I had on. I think I was watching the Mavs game. No, that wouldn't have been right. I don't know what happened, but something popped up about Cade having like 30, 10 and something, and 30 plus, 10 plus, and I was just like, Ooh, I wonder if he went like really crazy. And then I saw the team total. I was like, if he got to 38 or 39, I'm going to be so pissed. Ultimately, it didn't matter. But yeah, look, if Anthony Black is starting today, which is what we're assuming right now, and obviously we're going to get this news one way or the other. It's the only 7 o'clock start. If he's in, he's just massively underpriced. He's priced to be a guy that's going to play like 24 minutes a game, like he is when Suggs is around. If this breaks the way that we expect, he's just going to be the easiest point per dollar option that you could possibly want to get to. 34% boom rate right now, 47% owned, 53% optimal. So we even have him with pretty significant positive leverage. And by the way, for you guys that are here right now, are you able to see this okay? I'm still trying to work on how I can get all of our data in front of your eyes in the best possible way. But this is basically everything we have. This is our salary, the minutes, the full stat projection, the regular projection, ceiling and floor, all the boom bust calculations. So I just want to make sure you guys it's visible to the people that are like watching on YouTube. Travis, would you play him even if Suggs plays? Yeah, like Anthony Black will still be 15 to 20% owned regardless. Like, yeah, here's a good example. Nikola Jovic is projected for 24 and a half minutes at 4,300. Same price. Jovic is 22% owned. Like, yeah, like at that price tag in minutes, he's just going to be involved. But yeah, that's what we have at the top right now in terms of ownership. Anthony Black on an island because he's 47% owned. Your next highest owned guy, at least for right now, $6,400 small forward Andrew Wiggins. He's 30% owned, 27% optimal. So a little bit of negative leverage, but nothing that's stopping you from going that direction. Trey Mann is getting quite a bit of love as well. He's right by that 30% number. AJ Mitchell, Shea as what appears to be premier pay up. Wemby also in the 20s in ownership. Kind of want to have that conversation in a little bit. The Shea Wemby discourse. Hartenstein in the high 20s. Franz, Paulo, Jaime Jaquez, who had a monster last time out. He's 25% owned. Let's take a look at it game by game. So let's start with this Orlando-Charlotte game. 3.5 point line. 240 total. This is the highest total on the slate. This is 10 points higher than all 3 of the other games. But that's what we have right now for it. We talked about Anthony Black a little bit. If I just hop over, just want to double check any sort of injury news for these guys. So we don't have the Orlando injury information since they're on a back-to-back, but we are going with that assumption that Jalen Suggs is not going to be playing for this one. And then for Charlotte, they're still aggressively walking wounded. Antonio Reeves, Brandon Miller, Drew Peterson, Grant Williams, Josh Green, KJ Simpson, all not involved right now. So we are seeing this game become a bit of a value spot. We mentioned Anthony Black, but 3,800 Trey Mann, point guard, shooting guard eligible. He's projected for about 24 minutes in our model. Yeah, that actually is probably a little bit better from a size perspective. But 24 minutes, just shy of 23 fantasy points, basically neck and neck with like a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. But look at the optimal rate for Trey Mann right now. Plus 10 leverage, 39% optimal, 29% owned. That's a guy that I want to keep my eye on if you're trying to pay down. The type of guy that pairs very well with Victor Wembanyama, as does Anthony Black. Like, obviously, those two dudes lead to a Wemby build much easier than it leads to a SGA build. And then the next pack of three guys to talk about in this game is where it gets really dicey. And I'd like to have a conversation about it because we have 25% ownership coming into Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Desmond Bane. They're all 25. They're all basically the same optimal as well. They all only have one position. Franz is small forward, 7,500. Paolo's power forward, 8,800. Desmond Bane, shooting guard, 6,700. So they're all like $1,000 away from each other. They're all one step up the positional spectrum. I just want to go to you guys to start this. Do you have a preference between Franz, Paolo, and Desmond Bane? I have already bet this game and two of the players involved here. So I want to know what you guys are looking at. Because it's hard to not want to like one of them on a 4-game slate in the highest projected game when you get to face the Hornets. Like, that just adds up to me. All right. Einsteinium loves Bane. BKGJ says Franz and Bane. So does Brandon. Travis is Banchero. T is Franz. Jets Magic just doesn't like them. Franz dropping 30. There's another Franz. Okay, so Franz is the guy I bet the under on today. So kudos to everybody dropping the Franz shout. I took Franz under in points. I took Desmond Bane's over in points. And I bet the Magic giving 3. Because that line's dumb. Now, to be clear, I don't say that because I don't like Franz Wagner. I just didn't like that particular line. He is, to me, just as likely to do this. Here's the like, it's not even just the ownership or the optimal. 26% chance to boom, 25% chance to boom, 27% chance to boom. Those are all the same number. Those are all the same number. Which means if you have a 26% chance to boom, that means there's a 74% chance that you don't boom. And if he doesn't boom, and Paolo doesn't boom, and Bane doesn't boom, the chance of all three of them not booming is 40%, which means between Franz, Paolo, and Desmond Bane, there's a 60% chance that one of them booms today. You got to figure out which one it's going to be. Now, for the rest of these guys, because there's a lot of ownership coming in here. This 240 total is carrying a lot of weight. Those guys are the only ones that are above 20%, but Ryan Kalkbrenner's 15, Wendell Carter Jr.'s 15, LaMelo at 9,900 is 15, Sexton, Bridges, Knipple, Goga, all 10. Even guys like Moussa Diabate, Tristan Da Silva, Tyus Jones, they're getting 5. So I'm looking at it like this. I clearly like Anthony Black a lot. I would expect Anthony Black to be either the point guard or the shooting guard in the starting 5 today. The Trey Mann value is fascinating, something to keep an eye on. I really want to know what the relationship between that optimal and ownership is for the rest of the day. Because if that kind of gap exists, he's going to be the Josh Minot of the projections for today. If that makes sense to you guys. Franz, Paolo, Bane, I'm going, personally, I am hoping for the order of operations here to be Bane, Paolo, Franz. But realistically, I'm going to probably have like 25% of all of these guys based on their leverage numbers. decent enough spot for Kalkbrenner at 4,500. I don't think that's too crazy. I don't think it's going to be any sort of problem, at least. That's for sure. Let's have a LaMelo conversation, I guess. 9,900 today. Point guard only, which is, not the most fun designation for someone. What did he drop last time out? They played 2 days ago. What did he do? Oh, yeah, it was the Miami game. 6 of 18 from the field, 4 of 12 from 3. 9. Oh, yeah, I forgot he got 9 assists. I bet under 8.5. That was great. Played like shit, still hit it. Awful. Don't have a ton of interest in him, that's for sure. I don't like. It's not that he looks okay. Let's have this conversation point here, because we have a lot of value. Obviously, it's at the guard spot. But if you look at LaMelo Ball and Paolo Banchero on the screen right now, obviously LaMelo is $1,100 more expensive. Not as great of a position. But we're talking about 25% boom versus 21. And we're talking about half the ownership. Now, I'm not saying that LaMelo is an optimal play here, because that's not what this says, but I'd argue that he's under-owned relative to Paolo Banchero. I don't know if that matters to anybody, but I do kind of think that. For the rest of this game, though, if we just want to look at leverage, it's Trey Mann in black. Miles Bridges barely. From a negative perspective, it's LaMelo, it's Paolo, it's Colin Sexton at 6,100, who I don't have a ton of interest in here either. Definitely looks a little bit better just because Suggs isn't Suggs, but it doesn't feel like a Colin Sexton game. It's not like the Magic second unit doesn't play defense. Anything you guys want me to take a look at on this Charlotte-Orlando game? I'm going to pull up the boom bust tool for FanDuel quickly, so I can show you FanDuel crazies what's going on. I haven't integrated that into my view yet for you guys, but I'll get that done in the next day or two. Am I going to argue this is the Cade spot all over again? I look at those guys slightly differently, but yeah, same principle. Although, if the Magic defense just isn't going to be any good, that matters too. All right, FanDuel. This is the boom bust tool on the FanDuel side. Just so everybody knows, the highest owned guy today is $6,100 Isaiah Hartenstein, who is 50% owned. We'll get to that in a bit. Orlando and Charlotte. Very different outlook. The 3 highest owned guys on FanDuel is Desmond Bane, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero. Now, it's very different on FanDuel because of their positions, the way they lock into 2 point guard, 2 shooting guard, 2 small forward, 2 power forward. That kind of layout makes way more sense. There's not nearly as much flexibility, much more rigid product. So I'm not surprised to see that. Anthony Black's 4,600 there. He is pulling 30% ownership. You also still see LaMelo look a lot better on the FanDuel side. He's 20% owned. Trey Mann, not as interesting on the FanDuel side at 4,100. What's Black's usage when he starts? 0. Yeah, they're next to nothing. It'll be next to nothing. There's not a lot to go around, think about it like this. If you get Paolo, Franz, and Bane at 25 apiece, that's 75. There's only 25 left for Wendell Carter Jr. and insert point guard here. So in that case, it's 12. It's 12 by default, more or less. Jay Nevy, I don't want to play any one of them. They're not meshing yet. They all seem to do okay, not great. I mean, that's not the way to look at it. Otherwise, you just get left behind on the day they go crazy. You'll never let it pay you off in that scenario. Every day is a unique day. And a winding road, apparently. Oh, that Gatorade's hitting today. Are the Magic already cooked at 1-4? I mean, no. Look, the East is wide open. Anybody can win the East. It's a long season. Now, do I want them to, like, fire Jamal Mosley and Hyler Taylor Jenkins or something? I do. But that's a conversation for another day. Let's go to game number 2. Golden State Warriors in Milwaukee. Warriors are 2.5-point favorites in this one. Not nearly as much ownership coming in here. I'll bounce back and forth. You see this, right? Like, the highest owned guy in Golden State, Milwaukee is Giannis at 17.7. That's lower than Anthony Black, Trey Mann, Franz Paolo, and Desmond Bane, and basically the same as Ryan Kalkbrenner. So infinitely less ownership coming into this game. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo is 12,100, projected for 30, 12, and 7. Whew, this guy is so good. So good. 26% chance to boom. Mild positive leverage. I mean, the question just becomes, like, who do you really want to pay up for and how can you? Obviously, Giannis pairs really well with the Trey Mann value, with the Anthony Black value. Getting those guards makes it easy to get to Giannis, but we also have to have a Victor Wembanyama conversation and a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander conversation. Apologies to the Wizards and Miami for not having representatives in that conversation. But hard not to like Giannis, clearly. But what is, like, you know, this is a matchup where they've got some bodies. I think the combination of Draymond and Al Horford to throw at Giannis, at least to make him give it up or do something different. I mean, if he's going to be allowed to take 5 steps between dribbles, that might change things. But I do think they're set up pretty well, or as well as like a team could be. And then we also have to think about the fact that the Warriors are likely changing their starting lineup. Let's make sure that we have that before I start saying that out loud. We do. So the likely scenario is that Brandon Pajemski is going to be leaving the starting lineup, and Quentin Post is going to enter the starting lineup. I like that. I would greatly prefer shifting people in a different direction down the positional spectrum. You get Quentin Post out there to provide some shooting that they desperately need and some spacing. Big fan of that move if they're doing it. I think it allows them to move their rotation around in a much better way. That said, there's not a lot to like here for Golden State, no matter what they're doing with their rotation. Moses Moody is questionable. Jimmy Butler is your highest owned Warrior at 15% owned. Slight positive leverage. But if we're talking about positive leverage, it's coming in 2 different spots. Cole Anthony, 17% owned, 26% optimal. He's 4,800 point guard, shooting guard eligible. Let's keep an eye on that one and keep an eye on Ryan Rollins. And then the bucket, Jonathan Kuminga, 6,300, power forward only. 14% owned, 24% optimal. That's 10 plus 10 leverage. Jonathan Kuminga standing out here in a big way. certainly like Kuminga today, based on this data. He's a guy I want to have much more than the field of. Don't mind a little bit of Butler, but we need to monitor this Cole Anthony situation. Add him to the list of these point guard, shooting guard eligible 3 and 4K type value guys. That's going to be one that we're going to have to work our way through. You know? Because one of those guys is just going to end up sucking. And he's going to hurt like 30% of lineups eventually. But I like Cole Anthony there. Not a ton of interest in Miles Turner for me. We've got some positive leverage coming into Draymond Green. A 9% owned Ryan Rollins starts to get a little sneaky on a day like today. Pods at 5,800 coming off the bench is unowned. There's certainly a scenario there where it could look a little bit better than it does. Not too bad, though, on the negative leverage. It's Gary Trent, but it's -2. He's 10% owned. I don't think there's much to look into there. I guess I didn't say Steph Curry's name. Not typically a guy I get a lot. 9K point guard only, 6% owned, 5% optimal. We have all this value at guard. It seems difficult to click Curry's name. I think there's a case to be made that you're going to have a pretty unique build by going to Curry, just because you're naturally going to lose one of those guard value dudes. This is a slate that, while we haven't gotten there yet, it's a slate that's desperately crying out for a small forward, power forward punt. Let's check FanDuel for Golden State and Milwaukee. Because again, we got very different sites and slates. Golden State, Milwaukee. Pretty balanced ownership here. Giannis, 12,200 on FanDuel, power forward only, about 25% owned. Same ownership for Jimmy Butler at 7,500. And you've got Curry, Kuminga, Draymond all around 20. Miles Turner, Gary Trent around 10. Travis asks, do I think the Turner signing was good? That's a loaded question. It's really hard to talk about it without bringing everything into context. Like, for Miles Turner, I think it's a very reasonable deal. I don't mind his contract. I think finding a floor spacing, shot blocking 5 is really hard. We're well aware that that is what you need alongside Giannis. So to maximize him makes perfect sense. But you can't really just look at Miles Turner's contract alone, because like in the grand scheme of things, it also includes Damian Lillard's stretch. And that's where it gets dicey. Ultimately, I don't think it matters. Like, if I'm Milwaukee, I do the same thing, because whether you just don't do anything and eat the year, then you're going to lose Giannis. You're doomed anyway. You don't have any draft picks. It doesn't matter if Dame is on the books for $25 million 4 years from now, because if you don't have Giannis, you're not good anyway. So I don't mind it, but it is a lot. Sabonis with Giannis would be better? No. Indy pays him if Halliburton doesn't get injured. I don't know. I don't know. Probably. But I don't know. If they do, somebody else is leaving the team, I think. I think we see Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, Obi Toppin. One of those guys would have been traded in the offseason. Luther, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume that Miami is going to try to slow Wemby down. That's probably going to be a game plan for most teams. Stop the best player. I think the alternative would be pretty wild. Let's just let Wemby get his. All of a sudden, he's putting up the Wilt 100-point game. Yeah, I mean, Sabonis and Giannis would be a legitimately terrible pairing. I mean, they would destroy people in the regular season, but I mean, that's not a winning combination in the postseason. Well, one of these teams has winning combinations for postseason stats. The other one does not. The Washington Wizards are 15.5-point underdogs in OKC today, 230 total. Kudos to them for only being 15-point dogs. Think about it, though. That's 15-point dogs with no Chet, no J-Dub, no, like, 4 other dudes. Crazy. 30% ownership to AJ Mitchell. 30% ownership to Shea. 30% ownership to Isaiah Hartenstein. No one else in this game is above 14. All 3 of those guys are interesting. AJ Mitchell and Shea both showing slightly positive leverage. Isaiah Hartenstein showing pretty sizable negative leverage. He's in for 29 minutes, 12 and 10, a couple stocks. Boom rate looks good. But center only just becomes limiting. There's always going to be options. Like Isaiah Hartenstein is 27% owned at 6,700. Alex Sarr is 5% owned at 6,800. They're separating by 2 points. I don't want to play Isaiah Hartenstein if I could play Alex Sarr for 1/5 the ownership. AJ Mitchell's ownership scares me a little bit, but I'm a big AJ Mitchell fan. The one thing that we need to pay attention to, Isaiah Joe is questionable today. He's been missing for a couple games now. Keep your eye on that. If he's out, it really does solidify liking AJ Mitchell. Even if he's in, AJ Mitchell's still one of the best plays you'll get to from OKC. And then if you can pay up for Shea and make it work with value elsewhere, I like it. I think a goal is going to be to get 2 of these pay up options. Some sort of combination of Shea, Giannis, Wemby. I don't know how possible it's going to be. We're going to find that out in starting 5 in a little bit. But yeah, like, of course we think that SGA is going to smack the Wizards around. You know? But yeah, Alex Sarr, 6,800, 5% owned. I think he stands out pretty dramatically on this slate as a way to get different. Obviously coming off of a monster performance last time out. Aaron Wiggins, who we assume gets the start again, is 7% owned. Not all that interesting. I mean, really, most of this isn't all that interesting. I think Keyshawn George is fine around that 10% ownership mark. I don't have a ton of interest in CJ or Middleton, nor does the public, by all accounts. Dort not getting any love. Trey Johnson not getting any love. Is that real? Ooh. It appears Bilal Coulibaly is back. Which obviously changes the scope of the Wizards in a big way. Yeah, only Marvin Bagley on the injury report today. Bilal Coulibaly, welcome back. Not on the injury report. Unfortunately, also not owned in any way. 5,500 for Coulibaly on DraftKings. We've got him in for 27 minutes. 0.5% owned, 0.5% optimal. 21 DK points, and not a good value at all. So, don't love it, but I mean, that's 27 minutes on the Wizards that didn't exist for these past few games. So there's going to be some impact there. But I mean, if you guys look at the ownership right now on the Wizards, this shouldn't be all that surprising. Wizards against OKC, 9% owned Keyshawn George is the highest owned guy. Nah. On the FanDuel side for this game, we talked about Isaiah Hartenstein earlier. 6,100 on FanDuel, 50% owned. Looks great. SGA 11.4, point guard only 35% owned. Obviously not difficult to get to. 41% optimal. It's giving him 6% leverage. Looking good. Kaysen Wallace and AJ Mitchell, both their sub 5K, 25% owned, just eating up minutes, filling out lineups. And then the ownership falls off. Dort at 20, Caruso, CJ, Jalen Williams with a Y all around 10. Alex Sarr, power forward center, 7,600, 2% owned. Only 1% optimal here. Not nearly as good of a play on FanDuel for Sarr as I think that he is on DraftKings. Coach Chris, Keyshawn George is not a part of a rotation that's going to get messed with for the Wizards. He's not going anywhere. I mean, the problem with the rotation for the Wizards today is the fact that they play the Thunder, not Bilal Coulibaly coming back. Who gets extended run if this game blows out? I don't know. The young, shitty guys. Trey Johnson, probably. Will Riley. Probably Tristan Vukcevic. It may be Anthony Gill, maybe AJ Johnson. I mean, nobody that matters. Trey Johnson would be the only guy that I think would get shit run potentially. And even then, probably not. Final game for today's slate. 8:30 tip-off. Miami Heat, 5.5-point dogs in San Antonio. We do have some Miami injury news. Nikola Jovic is questionable. Norm Powell is doubtful. Obviously, Tyler Hero still out. And don't think Terry Rozier going to be making it to that one. Not invited. For San Antonio, Fox still out. Sohan out. Olynyk out. Lindy Waters out. Luke Cornett still out. We do have a lot more ownership going here. This looks a lot like Orlando and Charlotte. Massive amounts of guys. You know, we've got what? 2, 4, 6, 8 guys, 20% or more. Similar to this one. 30% to Andrew Wiggins. And then this crop of 20 to 25. Jaquez, Wemby, Harper, Jovic, Castle, Bam, Larson. Pelle Larson got the start last time out. Expectation is going to be that he does that again. 4K guard forward eligibility, negative 9.6 leverage. Not good. Not good. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, Jeff, let me hit that super chat. Didn't pop up on my screen. Good morning. Wait, I did see that though. Why doesn't it? I wonder why it doesn't show up as a super chat for me. Anyway, doesn't matter. Good morning. Can you explain on Hartenstein more? He doesn't seem to be looking for a shot, even with Chet out, more of setting up others. I mean, I think the simplest answer here is probably going to be the best one. Per EPM, Isaiah Hartenstein projects as a 12% usage guy. I've got him at 15. You know, if we want to split the difference and call it 13 and change, this just isn't a guy that looks for his own shot. This is a guy that looks to pass and always has. I mean, he's a 60th percentile assist guy as a big. You calibrate that for bigs, and he's probably like a 90th percentile guy. It's just not his game. That's just not his game. All right, let's say if we take Jalen Williams off and Chet off since last year. Isaiah Hartenstein's played 352 minutes without those guys in the regular season. 16.9% usage rate. So, obviously it does creep up a little bit higher, but I just don't think that's his gimmick. He's not out there to look for him. If he's got space, he's going to take that push floater. Otherwise, it's probably just going to be a lot of offensive rebounds. But, decent assist rate. Obviously, from a rebounding perspective, he's everything. He's averaging 15.7 defensive rebounds and 5 offensive rebounds per 100 possessions. That's 20 rebounds per 100 possessions. So I guess my question is, why play once it's upside? I mean, the answer to this is it always has absolutely nothing to do with basketball. His prices. Let me make sure I get it right so I can get this statement out correctly. His price is $6,700, and he's 18% optimal. And 25% of the time, he has a fantasy score that works for you over his 34 fantasy point ceiling. I don't think about it like he doesn't have a ceiling because he has 14% usage when those guys are off the floor. His upside is his upside. I don't think he's any different with him or without him. Like, he's just Isaiah Hartenstein. I would not be looking at 2 box scores and thinking I shouldn't play Isaiah Hartenstein. Gotcha, Jeff. All right. Back to Miami, San Antonio. Again, big ownership to this game. Not surprised at all to see it to Wiggins and Jaquez. Wiggins, small forward eligible, so that's always just a spot that naturally appreciates mid-tier guys that aren't bad per minute dudes, and he's a fantasy point per minute in this spot. Again, no Norm Powell, so shots to go around. We just saw Jaquez look good. He's 5,400, small forward, power forward eligible. Certainly looks to be improved. I think that 25% ownership is very reasonable. Victor Wembanyama is 11-7, center only. We'll have our conversation shortly about the SGA Giannis Wemby trio, but 25% owned, 25% optimal. And that's how this whole range looks. Dylan Harper, 25% owned, 25% optimal. Nikola Jovic, don't love this one. 23% owned, 23% optimal. Same story for Castle, 23 and 25. Bam at 20 and 20. Now there's some pretty massive negative leverage coming into Pelle Larsson, and I am more than okay with that. If he's going to be 20% owned and we have him at 11% optimal, you're going to be able to get to something else in this game. I think Ware is a very interesting option at 5,100 for today on a 4-gamer, especially given where we're seeing some of that other ownership going. Champagne, not exactly the most fun guy to get, but can knock down some threes. More value in like Keldon Johnson. Devin Vassell feels like a tough sell, as does like Davion and Harrison Barnes and Drew Smith. Big Russ, I wish that you could change per 100 possessions to another metric on play-by-play stats. Why? What do you want to change it to? I think that's the best one to have it. Let's look at the pay-ups and hash this out. So I'm just going to set the min salary to $9K. Which I guess is going to be Giannis, Wemby, Shea, LaMelo, and Steph. So that's what we've got for pay-ups today. 24% ownership to Wemby, 28% ownership to Shea, 18 to Giannis, 13 to LaMelo, 7 to Steph. I mean, as I look at this, based on the boom rates, based on positions, the guy that I want most here, I think, is Giannis. You get the power forward position, so all of the guard value still works. You get a matchup that is likely to be the most competitive. So I think that Giannis playing the full game makes the most sense. Obviously, Shea is going to have no trouble with Washington, but they might not need him. And I think it's a tougher matchup for Wemby against Miami, not to mention he's more owned and at a worse position. Yeah. So, Russ, yeah, you should never think about minutes. Minutes in basketball are useless because teams play at different paces. So, unless you're adjusting for that as well, minutes will get you into trouble. If you've got a guy projected for 32 minutes, you need to know how many possessions that is. You need to know how fast that game is and how many possessions 32 minutes would be in that spot. But you don't want anything in minutes. Minutes is useless. Yeah, I'm leaning Giannis. I think Giannis is going in the starting five, which we are about to do right now. Before I do, though, I don't want you guys to forget, we're awesome. Stokastic is dope. You guys should sign up at Stokastic to use our tools. We've had tons of success from our subs on the basketball side. These are just basketball screenshots for the first 8 days of the season. If you want to sign up at Stokastic, there's a link in the description. You click that link, you sign up through one of our partners, you will get a month of The Sims for $0, as long as you follow the instructions on the screen. And you can stack those up. If you want to sign up for 3D, you want to sign up at Prize Picks, Underdog, and BetMGM, you can get 3 months of The Sims for free. Yeah. Cannot beat it, guys. Join the team. We're a great place to be. All right. Starting five time. Let's get into it. Let's get the Sims up. And let's get something built for this 4-gamer. I'm excited to find out what we're going to get here. Game time, folks. Let's do it. Starting five time, we need to find out the best point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center to start off a lineup. Then we'll find out what fits optimally around all of those guys. But then we find out the real goods. What can we swap around those dudes to see, is there a better 3v3 out there to maximize the day? We need these 5 guys. There are a couple I think are non-negotiable. For right now, Anthony Black is either going to be our point guard or our shooting guard. 47% owned, 53% optimal, standing out in a big way, assuming Jalen Suggs is not going to play today. I also like Trey Mann, also point guard, shooting guard eligible. I think taking the value for both of those guys is going to be very helpful. It will allow us to get Andrew Wiggins, so we are going chalk, chalk, chalk for the first 3. We're going to be able to go a different direction after that. So I'm going to lock in Trey Mann Anthony Black, and Andrew Wiggins in the first 3 spots of this lineup build. So let's get that pulled up now. And let's get those guys added in. Anthony Black goes in. Trey Mann goes in. Andrew Wiggins goes in. And just to make this easy, I already know who the power forward is going to be. That is going to be a guy that's not at the top of the list. That would be Paolo Banchero in ownership. Then you get Jaquez. Then you get Jovic. Then you get Bam. And then you get a $12,100 Giannis Antetokounmpo. He will be my power forward representative in the starting 5. I love it today, given that ownership and given what else is out there. We still have to find our center. We have a few different options that we're able to use here. I'm just going to filter down the data so that we can see centers and find out who do we need. Because Isaiah Hartenstein is your most exposed center today. He's 27% owned. Wemby is close at 24. Now, I would love to put Victor Wembanyama in this lineup. I'm not confident I can go to him and Giannis right now. Maybe we see that change later on. I don't think Jovic is my guy. I don't think Khalil Ware is my guy. I don't think that any of these guys are my guy. And that puts us to the point that I think we need to try. We did it yesterday with a dueling pay-up options, and we're doing it again today. I'm sneaking Wemby in there. We need to see what these lineups look like. 11-7 Victor Wembanyama, get in there. I don't think this is going to work. We have $3,900 left for all 3 spots. We might have to pivot in this video. Let's start by finding out who fills in around it. Goga Batadze, Simone Fontecchio, and Julian Champagny. We're going to click Run Lineup Simulation to see how it looks. It might be okay, but we might not be able to swap around it. 21% sim ROI. We're not going to be able to keep Wemby, guys. It's just not going to work. If I put 15% randomness on to see if we get anything else, we end up with Taurean Prince, Tyus Jones, and Ryan Kalkbrenner. When this shows up as a not good lineup, we're going to find our new center. The starting 5 cannot contain Wemby if it contains Giannis. -34. We gave it our best shot today, but it's not going to work out for us. Victor Wembanyama, you are out. But who will replace you at center? There's too much negative leverage for me to want to go to Isaiah Hartenstein. I do want to save a little bit of salary. I think we used him a little bit yesterday. We're going to use him a little bit again today. You know what? Coach Chris chat is mentioning Alex Sarr. I don't think we're going to go there because he's a little bit more expensive than I want at 6,800. I'm going Ryan Kalkbrenner once again. He's just at a great price, and as long as he's healthy, they want him to be out there. I think they found something here. So now that we add Ryan Kalkbrenner to the starting 5 with Anthony Black, Trey Mann, Giannis, and Andrew Wiggins, now we have real money left over. $6,300 to find out the optimal plays around our starting 5. These names look a lot better than they did before. Welcome to the lineup, Franz Wagner, which is interesting because I bet his under today, Dylan Harper, and Draymond Green. 260.5 projection, 205 ownership. And if we round this bad boy up, we get the nicest number possible. 69% sim ROI, 0.2% chance to win, and a 38% cash rate. We found it now. Ryan Kalkbrenner was the answer to our prayers. So we have our optimal starting 5 now. But can we make it better? Let's clear out those guys. Let's add 10% randomness. And let's find out now who's the 3v3. Jimmy Butler, Dylan Harper, and Miles Turner. I think that combination looks good. 258 projection, 194 ownership. We cut projection by 2.3-ish, but we also cut ownership by 11%. There's a non-zero chance we improved here. Nah, apparently not. 25% sim ROI, 33% cash rate. I was hoping the synergy between Miles Turner and Giannis was going to be a differentiator there. We've got one more left to do. 10% randomness, 3v3. Butler, AJ Mitchell, and Jonathan Kuminga. So we get 2 Golden State Warriors here. We get a piece of the OKC Washington game that we did not have. We spend the entire salary, 259 projection, 199 ownership. This feels like a 40% range, but I'm very happy with the starting. Oh, boy, did I call that. In the 40% range, 41.9% sim ROI, 0.2% chance to win, 34% cash rate. I think there's a lot of options here. And I think you could build very similar lineups if you took Giannis out and put Victor Wembanyama in, but a starting 5 of Black, Giannis, Ryan Kalkbrenner, and Andrew Wiggins is going to be an amazing way to get yourselves started. And for those guys, I think they're going to be good all day. Keep your eye on Anthony Black, but keep your eye on this starting 5. Guys, this is good, man. I really wanted to be able to get the Wemby Giannis combo. We can take one quick look at what the optimal is around that. So if you get Giannis in there and Wemby in there, optimal lineup around those guys: Man, Black, Larson, Mitchell, Jovic, Cole, Anthony, 259, 7, and 208 from a projection standpoint. It's going to look very similar to our first one. But guys, that's going to do it. NFL Strategy Show is coming up next. NBA Live before lock tonight. NFL Live before lock tonight. No playback for any basketball or anything like that. That's going to do it for this show, folks. It's been fun. Check it out on podcast form. It'll be up shortly. Thanks for being here. We got one more day this week. Full slate tomorrow. Lots to break down. Thank you, guys. It's nice to see you. Good luck for everything you do.